Well, ladies and gentlemen, big news. Donald J. Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Donald Trump came into this presidency promising no more wars. And so far, it seems like he's done a good job. Remember Pakistan and India? They had a little bit of back and forth. That ended very quickly. Then we have Israel and Iran getting a little nasty with each other, and it seems like we've achieved peace with them as well. So we're going to watch a clip from Fox News. Then we're going to watch a clip of Trump being a little bit angry at Israel because they, I guess, bombarded Iran a little bit more after the deal was signed. And then we're going to read Trump's Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Now, bear with me. I am using government internet, and unfortunately, it likes to cut out. So if the screen freezes or I cut off or it goes black, I apologize. So let's go ahead and dive right into the news.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ingram Angle. I'm Laura Ingram, my angle in moments. But first, tonight, we begin with major breaking.
What angle would you put Laura into? I'm just kidding.
News. It's a development that few thought was possible even a few days ago. But with President Trump in charge, we've seen time and time again, the so-called experts are proven wrong. President Trump says Israel and Iran have agreed to a full ceasefire taking effect in just a few hours.
I can't even explain how many posts I saw on X, on YouTube, that we're going to war. We're going to have boots on the ground. We do what Israel tells us to do. Blah, 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 blah. Now, I know people think Donald Trump is stupid, and you're totally wrong if you believe that, number one. And number two, nobody in their right mind is going to put American boots on the ground when we can just bombard our enemies from afar and use our little sub-allies, basically our protectorates, to do our fighting for us. Okay? And it looks like this whole panic about a war with Iran, which we would have dominated them anyway, seems to have come to an end. And our great hero, Donald Trump, is going to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, right? I have my doubts about that, not necessarily because he doesn't deserve it or not, but because the people that select Nobel Peace Prize winners are usually leftist scum, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if Greta Thunberg, whatever her name is going to get it if she hasn't gotten it already. I honestly don't watch the news, so maybe she has.
In a Truth Social post in the last hour, the president wrote, "Congratulations to everyone. There will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now when Israel and Iran would have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. For 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended."
There we go. They just didn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. They eliminated the threat. Iran did a symbolic attack in which they forewarned America because they didn't want to actually hurt any Americans, because if they did, there would have been a huge backlash. And now we're all hunky-dory, right?
On that assumption that everything works out as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't, and never.
And now we can just go back to proxy wars. So Iran can just continue to fund Hezbollah and Hamas and et cetera, and Israel can fight them. But as long as we're not fighting Iran directly, overtly, now we're back to normal.
Will. Here with me now is Brett Baer, chief political anchor and special report anchor, executive editor there as well. Brett, you were on the air. We were all watching with Vice President Vance when Trump's Truth Social post landed. So that was in and of itself kind of hilarious. But do we have details about how this all came together in the last hour?
Well, Laura, good evening. It really was something. Let me just give you the behind the scenes. Trey Yingst was in the middle of wrapping up his report from Tel Aviv, and the producer got in my ear saying, "Trump Truth Social coming in the email right now." And I look down, the vice president's right here on set with me. And as I look down to read it, his staff comes in with an iPhone so he can read the Truth Social.
I just think that's funny that, Vance is on an interview. He probably doesn't even know this happened. And then they have to bring him a phone with Trump's Truth Social to update him. Gotta love it.
As it's coming in. And Trey Yingst wraps up his live report. I thank him. I introduce the vice president and obviously start with what we just heard and saw. And he said he had heard about it, talked about it, hadn't seen the final version, and that's what he was reacting to. Since then, we've learned that Qatar was the intermediary and that Iran officials are now saying they did, in fact, authorize Qatar to negotiate on their behalf, at least according to Reuters and other wire services.
Well, that's good. So there's no war. There's no nuclear weapons flying. The Strait of Hormuz is open. Nobody wants the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. Everything's honky-dory.
And that the Israelis are going to agree to this in a 6-hour time frame. Now, what happens between now and the 6 hours? I expect a lot of kinetic action inside Iran from the Israelis, but
got to get those last boom booms in.
That's what it looks like. And then the details that the president laid out about how it follows over the next 24, 48 hours, we don't know what that picture looks like or whether it leads to negotiations.
Well, what was stunning is that just in the last several hours, the supreme leader put out a statement saying, we will not submit. We will never submit. So something was changing in that interim time period. And
well, reaching a peace deal doesn't mean you've submitted necessarily. Submission would be like, we have totally unconditionally surrendered to Israel and the United States. You can have a deal without submitting.
I guess he was made an offer he couldn't refuse.
Maybe so. We don't know. The supreme leader is supposed to be holed up in a bunker. That the going thing in Iran, we're told, is that everyone doesn't know where he is except the Israelis and the U.S. And they have said that they could take him out at any time. I don't know what has transpired that changed the Iranians' bold action, other than to read the tea leaves here. They gave a pre-warning about the missile strike on Qatar and Al Udeid Air Base.
Yes, they did. That's called politics. Now, I'm not a political expert, but even I guess I was like, I don't think they actually want to harm U.S. soldiers because that would really cause a massive retaliation in a real war. So they warned America ahead of time. The missiles came in, they blew them up, one flew into the ocean or whatever, and they were able to give a symbolic counterattack to America.
Saying this is going to happen, get your people out of there. And then the air defenses took down those missiles, including one from Qatar. And, I think that the president's very weak response post and let's get to peace started phone calls between all of the parties, according to the vice president. And in between the time he left the White House and the time he arrived on this set, something had transpired to get that Truth Social post.
And the president even thanked Iran for the heads up, as you noted with Vance, which it all seemed like it was missile theater at some point.
Yeah, that's what politics is. Now, I'm actually surprised Trump even mentioned it. Like, if I was Iran, I would be like, we're going to launch a symbolic attack, but you better not say that we pre-warned you to make it seem a little more legit to everybody. But I guess Trump didn't care about that, or Iran didn't mention it. I don't know.
They gave them a chance to save face, shoot up a couple of, what looked like Roman candles. I mean, they were missiles, but and no damage was done as far as we understand on the ground. So you wonder why they even went through that exercise. But nevertheless, the president didn't choose to humiliate Iran in this moment, which I think that's classic Trump. He wants to give people a way out.
He did say, let's get to peace.
Okay, well, Trump can and does humiliate people all the time. Classic Trump. Yeah.
Let's get to the table. He called it very weak and thanked them for the heads up. But, it follows a pattern. In 2020, the Iranians did the same thing. They fired on a U.S. military base in Iraq, but they also gave a heads up ahead of time. That was after the Soleimani assassination, the takedown of the main military commander for Iran by the U.S. And so it follows a pattern. We'll see if this also follows a ceasefire, because as you know, the Israelis feel like they have a lot of superiority in the skies and they can take out targets at will. And they're on the cusp of making a big change to their existential threat. So it may be tough for them to
The only existential threat is if Iran has nukes. And if they're gone, there's no more existential threat. They can take care of a ground war. And if worse comes to worst, America would intervene if the country was about to fall.
Agree to it, but I think the president is pushing.
And Brett, although people don't want to be political in this moment, politics always enters the equation. We had an enormous amount of kind of nastiness across the political aisle over the last few days regarding the president's decision. So some Democrats were more, tepid about it, but others were basically very, very negative on what the president was doing.
Oh, really? Democrats were opposing Trump. Shocker. Basically, how the far leftists work is if it's my skin color and you have a dong, you're bad. And everything that helps people that look like me that have dongs is bad and must always be resisted. The more foreign and the more exotic you are, the more these leftists will support you. That's their internal logic. And you can actually predict exactly what they're going to do based off of that logic.
How do you see this moment playing out politically?
I mean, John Fetterman was the only Democrat I saw very vocal in his support of the action. Others were either tepid or saying it was unconstitutional and he had to come to Congress first.
Oh, my God. They do this every freaking time. Okay, every time a president does an action without consulting, oh, it's unconstitutional. We literally invaded Iraq without constitutional support. The president can do whatever he wants. Every president is dropping bombs around the world. Trust me. Even your hero and saint, Obama, dropped a bunch of big booms around the world. We're doing it constantly, and then public doesn't hear about a lot of it. There's a lot of clandestine stuff going on that, I've never been briefed on it, but I know it's happening because that's how it works. America's always intervening somewhere. You just don't know. And to go through Congress every time would be ridiculous. Sometimes you need to take decisive action.
I think a lot of those Democrats, if you look back at President Obama's actions in Lebanon, in Syria, they were not anywhere near as vocal about the congressional authorization issue back then. Politically, I think it plays pretty well. He's kept his party largely together. There are some vocal voices, as you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, Tom Massey, but fairly small in number and in voice. And I think it really depends how this ceasefire works out and what comes next.
So there you have it. So let's make sure we're still sharing. All right, we're good to go. All right, let me see the comments real quick. All right, now we're going to react to this video of Trump being mad at Israel and Iran. I'm going to grab my phone real quick.
But reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. Yeah, I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all. And I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay? I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean me.
Look, I think what's happening is Iran and Israel trying to get their last-minute little attacks in before the ceasefire happens. They're like, we got all these targets. We might as well hit them before the ceasefire ends. But, eventually it's going to come very quickly.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon. And they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pin
If it wasn't demolished, they would have hit it again.
bricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But
You actually don't have to watch fake news. I recommend you don't watch any news. I mean, obviously we're watching some now, but in my normal day-to-day life, I don't watch the news. It's a waste of your time.
I think CNN is a gutless group of people, and the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times, but the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So
That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try to get their last-minute attacks in before the ceasefire happens.
I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Oh, he said a curse word. That is hilarious. At least he's calling out Israel on top of Iran, too. Oh, he's bought and paid for by Israel, bro. Yeah, sure. All right, there he goes. Once he got a McDonald's bag in his hand. All right, last but not least, of course, we need to read Donald J. Trump's Nobel Peace Prize nomination, and I'm totally sure that he's going to get it. Dear Mr. Fridness and members of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, and trust me, there's politics in the Nobel Peace Prize. You could be the greatest man of peace in the freaking world, and, you know, if you're not politically aligned with them, you're not going to get the Peace Prize. That's how it freaking works. Welcome to reality and nepotism. As a member of the United States Congress, I write to formally nominate Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States, for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his extraordinary and historic role in brokering an end to the armed conflict between Israel and Iran and preventing the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism from obtaining the most lethal weapon on the planet. So basically, you call your B-2 pilots and you say, hit the targets, they go do it, and then you win a Peace Prize. I wish it was that easy, for me at least. In recent weeks, the world stood on the precipice of a dangerous and potentially region-destabilizing war. It's been going on forever, and it's continuing to go on via proxy. Yet in the face of this crisis, President Trump took bold action to ultimately champion peace through strength and facilitate a ceasefire framework that brought hostilities to a halt. Well, except for the last-minute attacks. In a statement that has since reverberated around the globe, Donald Trump announced the terms of a complete and total ceasefire agreement, commending both Israel and Iran for their courage to end the war. I mean, like I said, the objectives have been accomplished. His message of mutual respect and peace will now result in a full cessation of military activity, no further escalation, and the preservation of thousands, if not millions, of lives throughout the Middle East and around the globe. Now, honestly, if I was going to submit this, I'd probably give it a couple of weeks to make sure it actually cools off, because this is very, very, very recent news. And I'm not saying there is going to be a war, but there's always a possibility. Okay, so I probably would have waited a little bit to make sure. But, you know, this guy, He probably submitted this just to blow smoke up Trump's you-know-what. Oh, my king. President Trump's influence was instrumental in forging a swift agreement that many believed to be impossible. No, pretty easy. Just blow up the nuclear sites. President Trump also took bold, decisive actions to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions and ensure the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism remains incapable of acquiring a nuclear weapon. His leadership at this moment exemplifies the very ideals that the Nobel Peace Prize seeks to recognize: the pursuit of peace, the prevention of war, and the advancement of international harmony. Now, if they did this for Obama or even Biden, he would have got it. But Trump won't get the Peace Prize, guaranteed. In a region plagued by historical animosity and political volatility, such a breakthrough demands both courage and clarity. President Trump demonstrated both, offering the world a rare glimpse of hope. I believe in you, Daddy. For these reasons, I respectfully submit this nomination for Donald Trump, 47th President of the United States, to be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize. Sincerely, Earl L. Buddy Carter, slurper of Donald Trump and member of Congress. Isn't that a beautiful write-up right here? So what do you guys think he's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize? Let's talk. All right, let's jump into the comments here. What's up, fellow pay pigs? Has the internet been good? I'm shocked. I can't believe. I think the internet's been good this entire live stream. I'm sure something will happen at the end. Are comments private? I can't see any of them but my own. No. Nobody cares about Trump's Peace Prize. Found out Capital Mindset has blocked me as well as Dan. Wonder why they blocked me after I exposed them for cyber stalking and bullying. I don't know. Sounds like you guys need to have a debate, Gil. Does my team need to reach out to Scott, Schaefer, and Khmer if they need any assistance and felt harassed? Only guilty people block after exposed. Well, sometimes I block people for being lunatics, so you got to debate them, bro. That's the only way on my channel. Oh, it looks like no one is commenting. There's Gil. Is this a members-only chat? This is not. I'm guessing it is. I may join. That's right. If you want to be a member, it's $4.99 a month, and you get priority responses to comments on live streams and in videos, and you get exclusive content. No, the internet connection's not helping me, and the horrible lighting. I nominate Strongman for Husband of the Year's Award, especially for Ubering the used clothes to his queen's friends' houses. How could she divorce such a man? Don't even get me started on that. You know why I did it? She's like, there was a stupid box of clothes just sitting in my house. Yeah, I need to take it. I need to get rid of this clothes. Oh my God. Just nag and nag and nag. And all right, I'll take your stupid clothes and drop it off at your friend's house. Stop nagging me. Mr. Trumpkins lied again. The stock market's, oh yeah, let's go look at the stock market. Man, VT, ooh. VT is on fire. VT is up 1.26% today. It is now trading at $126.49. We got the total U.S. market up 1.17%. So VT won today. Ooh. S&P's up 1.1%. And the NASDAQ composite has slightly beaten VT today, up at 1.43%. Pretty good. I mean, are we at all-time highs? We've got to be close. Yeah, we're a couple cents from all-time highs. But there have also been like dividend distribution. So the market's been doing pretty good, people. Strongman still hard at work protecting Fort Knox from who is that? Hey guys, the clown are expanding at an incredible rate. How about we get rid of Trump and vote for Larry Jones? You know, I would not be surprised if somebody like Larry Jones became the president. The bigger the clown, the more likely you're going to succeed. Ryu, Harry Hoover for POTUS. McDonald's needs to name a hamburger after Trump, LOL. I mean, he basically is like the king of McDonald's. He is like, if you were to imagine an Amerifat that just inhaled McDonald's, you would think of Donald Trump. But then again, he does look pretty good. All right, well, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe. Consider joining as a member. It's $4.99 a month. You get exclusive videos. And I prioritize your comments and live streams and in the bottom of videos. And you guys have a wonderful, peaceful day.